The Colorado Avalanche have won 2 straight. Granted, they aren't the best competition, but hey, wins are wins. However, another problem now presents. You got 3 goalies on your roster. How the heck are you going to handle that? Rudo, myself, and E talk about it right now. Welcome inside the Toyota Lounge at the DNVR bar on Colfax. It's the DNVR Avs Pod. Glad to have you inside the Toyota Lounge, presented by your Front Range Toyota dealers. Big E representing, Rudo with me. A short night's rest, and we're right back at it. And today's DNVR Avs Pod is brought to you and presented by Bet365. It's never ordinary with Bet365. Getting a little cold there, by the way, Rudo.
Yeah, hoodies are out.
No.
Yeah,
Cold on the
hoodies on
front.
your bedding.
Hoodies on my bed.
You,
buddy, we got mittens. And
you got to put the phone in a full jacket at this point. Yeah,
buddy, we are. That thing is ice right now. Like I've yet to have to make a deposit into that account, but we're getting close.
All right, well, just make sure you hit your next bets on the Avs. You'll be
House
good.
money hasn't been there, but what's up, everybody? Super glad to have you along. Hey, by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, do that. We are like really ridiculously close
to 100K.
To 100K.
I want the YouTube plaque.
So, yeah, come on now. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Tell your friends. We're friendly. We would love for you to do that. Glad to have you guys along today. Lots of different things to talk about. Nothing really going on around the league that draws any attention. I want to talk about the Central Division later because it's weird. And, of course, all of our predictions aren't really,
I got one of mine right so far. I'll tell you that much.
Which one was yours?
That Nashville wasn't going to be that good.
Yeah, and I got that one wrong so far. But Stamkos just scored.
Hey, he's got a goal.
So that
counts for something.
You can't score 2 unless you have 1. So, E, what do you got around the league? Anything crazy on your end that does perk your interest? Did Max sign a professional contract yet, or he did?
Yeah,
that's good.
Modeling agencies around the world, Milan, Tokyo, they're calling. They're just good-looking guy.
He's a handsome kid.
No, around the league for me, Rudo knows my rules. I don't look at the standings till after game 50. I'm that moron. I don't give a crap. I really don't, because I think it means nothing. You're never at the same amount of games played. Even like 3 games, you know what I mean? Like where you play 3 games less than the guy at the top of your division. So it's pretty. I think you have to know where you stand a little bit, but I don't look at it. I mean, again, I call Calgary to be really deep, and next thing you know, they probably would win the President's Trophy today. So for me, there's 5 games. It's when you do the math, it's really there's 77 more games. You know what I mean? Talk to me after, but. Yeah, I mean there's always storylines like that, and we talk about it. The Avalanche, you lose 4 games during the regular season, as you know, it happens once. Whatever it is, it's not a big story. But when it happens at the start of the season, it's always a little bit more magnified. And I think that's what we've seen with the Avs, these past 10 days or so.
Just to reinforce that, not that the standings aren't meaningless. There is important to look at where teams are at, but 16-17, the worst year in Avalanche history. They started the season 9-9-1. They were basically a 500 team for the first 20 games of the year, and then they didn't do anything for the rest of the season. So it's hard to gauge out where a team's really at this early.
Yeah, I mean, and there's so many weird things going on. I mean, think about that too with the Avalanche, right? You start the way you start. You're like, okay.
Yeah. Doesn't feel good to start that way, for sure.
Okay. Maybe we don't look at the standings whatsoever. Sick of seeing 0.
What I think with us here, you know what I mean? It's because we talked about it ad nauseum on the summer for the importance of the first 20 games because of the situation they're in, right? With Val, Gabe, all that kind of stuff. And then Lecky that got kind of brought in kind of towards the end of the summer, where it was like, hey, he might miss 10 games or so, and you're like, what, really? So anyway, that's kind of why it's a little bit more like, oh, nerve wracking, and the goaltending hasn't been good, and we all know that. And then those are all subjects that we talked about last year. So it's kind of a trickling down effect into the new season. You know what I mean? Where, plus that's what we do, right? We get to analyze every game, and when it's good, it's good, and when it's a win, it's a win, and then when it's bad and it's a loss, then it does sound like it's the end of the world, and it does sound like the ceiling's caving in on them. And but at the end of the day, you're just commenting on what you saw the last 60 minutes. You know what I mean? In reality, you have to keep perspective of where you're at and what's going on. But I'm just saying, me, player management, whatever it was, I never really paid attention to the standings. You kind of know where you're at. Like I said, you're not just going in there blind. And well, actually, I'll tell you guys a story one day about that. But yes, you can't just go all of a sudden January and someone asks you, where are you at in the standings? And the guy has absolutely no clue where you are in the standings. But I think these guys know. And even a guy like me that doesn't look at them every day, you kind of know where you are and what you need to do to be there at the end.
We're obviously going to talk in length about the goaltendings and some defensive stuff, but you've had about 20 hours to digest yesterday. I like the way they're playing right now. I know that it's not against a high level team, so you can't say anything was great unless you win a game like that by like 9 goals. But man, I like the way Colton is playing. I really like just his swagger and his confidence. He looks fantastic. Kel McCarr is otherworldly at this point, which is just a whole nother level. And then again, I was really happy with the defensive pairings. In addition to as well as Cale McCarr played yesterday, I thought the back end in that regard looks really solid for these guys.
Yeah, the only negative I can bring up about the defense is you got to find a way to be a little bit more disciplined, especially someone like Josh Manson, who is supposed to be one of your primary penalty killers. He's
in the box all night.
Right, exactly. You can't penalty kill from the penalty box.
Right.
So, but yeah, no. On the whole, I think you should be really happy with the Avs defense. Slated to improve reasonably soon when Devon Taves gets back too. So maybe that jumbles up your pairings a little bit. We'll get to that a little bit later,
I'm
sure.
About that
but
later.
The second period, I think you have to take a look at these last handful of games, and the Avs need to figure out a way to play the better second period. But when you have a defensive core that is able to limit what the other team is bringing against you, you can get away with not your best periods.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's kind of what happened yesterday. They got away with it to a certain degree. There were some tense moments, but all in, that's how it kind of has been all season long. And you got to think at some point that's going to break away and not be the norm. It's going to be some easy wins here, right?
Yeah. I mean, I listen. I didn't mind their first period. I thought they were more than fine. You're supposed to be up, and I like the fact you talked about it last night that they were actually up in the game. They weren't chasing the game. I hate when you're chasing the game and you're trailing, and we've seen that too many times. You're like, you got to be kidding me. They're gonna get goal lead tonight of all nights. You know what I mean? Why tonight? But when you're playing with the lead, it's a little bit less pressure as a team to play. It's a little less pressure in the net. For the goalie, I tell Rudo all the time, it's a big difference to make a save at 1-0 than it is when you're actually winning 2-0 or whatever it is. It's a big difference. You know what I mean? So I think what it does is it just settled the game down. Now the second period, call it the squirrely / ham sandwich / penalties just took away from the momentum of the game. And you're right. That's exactly the point you just said. You got to be more disciplined, especially on the back end. You're ending up with the guys in the penalty box that are usually your penalty killers. It's not a good feeling, especially when you're missing number 7, Devon Taves, which arguably importance to their team. He's definitely a top 10 D in this league. You know what I mean? Like, again, I call it a top 10 D anyway in this league, but I'll call it a top 10 importance to his D core. He definitely fits that bill. And then when you're missing him and then you get guys parading to the penalty box, then that's on the back end, that's not a good feeling. as a coaching staff, you're kind of like, oh god. Even as a goalie, you're probably like, okay, Maybe that's not the best situation, but the guys were fine. Obviously they found the way, except that Eklund goal that, he makes a nice power move. I mean, it is what it is, like what I like Justus that maybe, but somewhere, somehow on the second period, he made all the stops on the penalty killing where they escaped the penalty trouble that they put themselves into.
I mean, should we just dive into the full defensive conversation here then, since we're already halfway into it?
I was going to just actually ask what you wanted to do in that regard, because I was going to say we might as well just start here and then we'll pivot to goalies.
Because I want to, Eric brought up the goal that goes in, and I want to specifically talk about the defensive pairings on the Avs penalty kill. Yeah, Josh Manson puts himself in the box. That's bad. Usually you see Manson and Girard paired together on the penalty kill.
Yes.
So there is a little bit of poor play from a player to keep in mind there. But I still think the Avs can do a better job of setting up their defensive pairings on a penalty kill, even when things are uneven like that. Because that goal goes in, your two defensemen on your penalty kill are Cale Makar and Sam Girard together.
Mm-hmm.
They should not be together on the penalty kill. Straight up should not, especially with the Avs' current PK system, which is a diamond. That relies heavily on your deepest defenseman, your number 4 defenseman, to clear out the net front and be that guy down and deep. I love Sam Girard. There's no universe where Sam Girard can do that role effectively. He just can't. The way Sam Girard plays defense is by preventing pucks from getting to the middle in the first place, and the Avs set Girard up for failure on that penalty kill. They have Calvin DeHaan. To be fair, Calvin DeHaan played like 4 minutes of penalty kill time in this game. They played him plenty there. My bigger problem is, what are you doing with John Ludwig? This is a guy that you brought in over someone like an Eric Brandstrom because of supposed defensive acumen. He's supposed to be a physical, strong guy.
Right.
He makes perfect sense to play in that number 4 role in the diamond on your penalty kill, and instead you're rolling out Cale Makar and Sam Girard together. I don't understand the personnel usage.
He makes a good point. I that was a head scratcher for me yesterday as well. I don't pretend to know exactly where the thinking is with these guys personnel wise yet. 6 games in, I'm still kind of making sure I understand, the thinking and the ideology of the coaching staff and everything. But yeah, that confused me as well last night with that pairing.
Yeah, I do believe it's John Ludwig. By the way, I like him. I do. He's got a little bit of frickin'. I went back and looked at that pass across that we talked about last night. It's a dumb play, meaning like it's a simple play, ends up in Kiviranta's goal. But it's a hard, crispy zip pass across. A little bit of jump. I saw him, like I said, in the second period, jump up in the play. But I like the firmness that he brings to a game. He is different. He is different than the other guys. Now, obviously, he resembles lefty Josh Manson, and I do agree he plays more like a Jack Johnson type of game with the same number. He makes you think and look back, and again, that is a positive compliment to the guy. Jack Johnson played over 1,000 games in the NHL, so it's not a bad comment whatsoever. I do like him. I do believe that if he does play in your lineup. Especially with, we all know Brandstrom was going to kill, right? We all knew that. He was brought in to skate, and he was very effective penalty killer. But I do believe Ludwig has to play on the PK. Maybe he's just not there yet. Maybe he's not there yet with Prater and those guys, and get a little bit more video going. But especially with the absence of Devon Toews, you know what I mean? Like that usually eats up some minutes on the PK. I would have liked to seen a little bit more of Ludwig on the PK because I like the firmness. I like what Rudo just talked about a little bit with the net front presence on a diamond. I think he's tailor-made for that. That is his type of game because, like I said, the firmness, and he kind of seems to like to engage in those types of confrontation. Like I say, it's not about fighting. That's not what I'm talking about. Talking about being tough in front of the net and making sure that within the rules, you're making the opposition feel your presence. And I do believe that once he is in the lineup, there's a reason he's in the lineup. This one, it's because Toews is not there, right? You know what I mean? And then I would have liked to see him maybe, kill some more penalties, obviously, didn't really get to do so.
Yeah, I don't think he's not there yet is an acceptable answer. You brought him in to do a specific role. That is pretty much exactly that. If that wasn't the plan, where did things get off track here is what I would ask. And this is, to be clear, I have no problems with John Ludwig. I think he should be penalty killing more. I think that's the idea. I have problems with the Avs personnel usage on the penalty kill. And to be clear, I'm nitpicking the penalty kill because I don't have anything else to nitpick. At 5-on-5, defense was awesome.
Awesome.
It's that simple to me. On the penalty kill, I do think the pairings get a little bit interesting with Taves coming back, but if we want to talk about it, we can talk about that in a minute.
We will talk about that in a minute, but we're also going to talk about the fact that, Eric, the counter has officially begun with our friends at UC Health and the Ready, Set, Go process here, buddy. You flip the hat around. You're drinking water. I hope that's water. It's not vodka, right? Water. Okay.
Not very UC Health if it's vodka.
Of course, the UC Health Ready, Set, Go challenge is trying to get Colorado back to being in its rightful place as the healthiest state in the union. With the help of Coach Prime, he's trying to set the example of all the different things that you can do to make sure you're putting yourself in the best possible spot. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're working out. Make sure you're hydrating like he is. Drink that water. Get that sleep. Get off of social media and make sure that you're taking care of yourself both physically and mentally. With the Ready, Set, Go challenge, you can join Coloradans in that effort to try to get back to being healthy. E wants to lose a pound for every single point that the Colorado Avalanche earned this season. It's 4 pounds already, big boy.
Well, let's make sure we have a thermometer like the standings. I don't like to talk about it like the first 10 games. You know,
Right.
maybe
we don't need to know. Right.
Maybe we'll have a little thermometer by game 25. You know,
yeah, we'll check in. We'll check in later. We'll check in later on it. We won't say anything just yet, but we'll keep you going. I know you have proof and pictures. So if you want to join E and the and Coach Prime and the UC Health Ready, Set, Go challenge, click on the link in the show notes or go to uchealth.org/Ready, Set, Go.
All right. We were talking about heavy physical defensemen. John Ludwig, kind of like a Toyota Tundra.
I was just going to say, he's a Tundra.
Yeah.
He's a truck out there on the
Tundra.
You got someone like Josh Manson. He's kind of like a forerunner, all right?
Okay.
Maybe not quite as, he's not hauling around as much, but he's still a bulky guy.
Okay.
Then you have someone like Cale Makar. He's their GR series, all right? That thing's got a V8 in it. It does whatever it wants, all right? He'll race you out on the strip, and he'll blow you away.
I love what you're doing here.
Whatever Toyota you want, they are the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. Get yourself in one at your local Front Range Toyota dealerships. 17 different all-wheel drive vehicles, so if you want to drive it out onto the lake, because we're finally starting to get some cold, it'll freeze over, you can do that. 16 different hybrid vehicles as well, the most of anyone. So Toyota has you covered, whatever car you're looking for. You can get yourself into a Toyota at your local Front Range dealerships, including AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corbin Toyota and Boulder, Group Toyota in Littleton, Mountain State Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota Rest in Lakewood. Again, the official vehicle of not just the Colorado Avalanche, but us here at DNVR.
I went test driving cars today.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Fun?
Oh, yeah, it's fun. I haven't had one in like 3 years. It's hard for me to get away from an SUV, though. I've had an SUV since I think I've had an SUV since I was 16 years old. I had I had the hand-me-down when I was a kid, and then you get used to an SUV, and I can't get away from it. I tried today. I tried some trucks.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm like, man, I like it, but my stuff's gonna get wet.
That's true. Ed, look, I grew up driving a Tahoe, so
yeah, I'm an SUV guy. I think.
4Runner might be the vehicle for you.
I'm kind of leaning towards the 4Runner. I'm gonna be honest.
Go get it.
I'll be honest. It was nice. Drives well. It's fun. Great price.
The Toyota that's attached to Cale Makar can actually drive on water. It can fly. It can do it all. It can do it all.
Teleportation. It's like the DeLorean in Back to the Future.
I'm here for it.
The pairings defensively will get interesting when Taves comes back because you're already in a weird spot with them. What do you think? And I won't weigh in too much because I don't want to get the favoritism boo birds out there. But what do you think the play is? Like, what do you realistically look at as your six when Taves is back and healthy?
Eric, I'll let you go first because I'm gonna have a really boring answer.
Yeah, I know. I mean, remember, like that's what I was doing last night. The coach in me gets to me. I got the marker out, and I was like, you know what I mean? Like, coaches are absolute gems. They just love their napkins and Sharpies and dry erase boards and what if we get Rudo to come out of retirement and get AJ on the point on the power play, all that stuff. So for me, it's very simple. It's very simple. It's you got the best pair in the world. You got 7 and 9 and 8. You know what I mean? Kale and Taze. I really like Sammy and Manson. I really do. I do believe that that's as good a top four in the NHL. That just is, and there's a lot of experience. There's a lot of, like we said, a little wine drinking, a little whiskey drinking, a little bit of mixture, right? Rum and Coke. They got the mixture in there. They're like bartenders. They can serve every drink there is. And then on the third pair, I do like the experience, and I know for a fact coaches love that. They like the experience. They like a Calvin DeHaan on the left side. Obviously playing third pair, you're not gonna wow the crowd, with some outstanding breakouts and sending guys on breakaways, but you're gonna do the job. Him and Sam Malinsky for me are perfect together. They're playing well together. Um, Again, Rudo gives me the numbers after every game. I love it. That's why I don't like Rudo, but I like when he gives me the numbers.
I don't like me either.
I like you.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I like you, Rudo. It's a joke. Sarcasm. But I do believe in that pair, and obviously, I listen. Shilly's had a tough time. Oliver Shillington's had you got to call a spade a spade. He's had a hard time. I didn't particularly like his games. I didn't like his preseason games as well. I just feel he's a little lost out there right now. He was given an opportunity. He even played shifts with McCarr, right? As far as a few games ago, I didn't like it. I didn't like his decision making. I don't like his reads. I think the numbers show that as well. I think he's fallen down a little bit. Again, new system, like I told you earlier. Sometimes you just need to watch a little more video, spend a little more time with Prater, Nolan Prater, D-coaching, look at stuff and make yourself less think out there and react more than you think, because it's a tough game when you constantly are thinking. It's a tough game to play. And I do believe that right now for this team, John Ludwig is a perfect 7. You know what I mean? Because you're always going to get an injury here and there. I do believe he's a perfect 7 for me today. If you're asking me, Taze is healthy and everything, that's how I would roll my Ds that I just stated.
I think Eric covered the most straightforward thing. I know some people talked about wanting to move Taves away from Makar. I don't see how you can realistically do that at this point. Yeah, sure, Makar's played super well and he can carry anybody, but that pairing is too good together, the top pair, and I don't think you get the consistency out of someone like a Josh Manson. I don't think Calvin DeHaan realistically can play on a top pair at this point in his career. Not that he isn't good, but he's just not that guy, particularly in the Avs system. He doesn't really have the foot speed to play on a top pairing. With that being said, what I do think you can do with the deeper part of the lineup, if you get beyond the top pair, you have a lot of flexibility with DeHaan, Malinsky, and Ludwig, I think. With Malinsky, if he's having a good game, you can move him up the lineup. You can maybe put him next to a Josh Manson, give him a little bit more room to play some offensive hockey. With that being said, Malinsky and DeHaan might be the best third pairing in the NHL right now. Their possession numbers are outrageously good. And DeHaan, same thing. The Avs have that DeHaan, Manson, Malinsky, Girard. All 4 of them can be interchangeable on just playing the hot hand of who's having a good night. We saw that with DeHaan the other day. Stepping up for Manson, who wasn't playing all that well. I would, at this point, for me, and people aren't going to love this answer, but it's something I guarantee you the Avs are going to do. Depending on who they're playing, if they want to add more physicality to their lineup, it's the rotation of Malinsky and Ludwig. Ludwig can step in. You get that more true shutdown pairing in a Ludwig and DeHaan or a Ludwig and Manson that makes it harder on teams. If you feel like you need a little bit more offense, Sam Malinsky's there to open it up for you. Not that Malinsky hasn't played well this year. I think he has, but for a guy who's in an offensive role, you'd like to see him pick up a point or two in these next couple of games.
I kind of had the feeling that DeHaan was sniffing around for a goal there. He's been shooting the puck a lot, and he likes this. I can just tell that he likes this more offensive, defensive style. I like that he's been jumping up in the play. And I said this last night, he's not used to that from where he's played the last 2 years.
Yeah, the same thing kind of happened with Manson when he first came here too. But I'm realistic. I don't expect a ton of offensive effect from DeHaan. He'll get a couple goals and whatever, but that's just not what the Avs need him to do. Even if he's freed up to do that a little bit more, just not what I'm looking for out of that guy.
Yeah.
On the big rig, like I said in the second period, I call him the big rig. That's his new name. Ludwig, I like it. He looks like a solid, firm rig. You know, he was jumping up on the play, and I loved it. You could tell the legs were going like, he had the happy legs going. Got me like,
I think there's a couple big rigs in the NHL already, buddy. We might have to readjust that one. I'll get confused.
It's like Big Vig. He's Big Vig.
No,
Big Vig.
There's only one big rig with the Avalanche. It's Ludwig. Big
How about would you want to go big Vig? Ludwig?
Big
Vig?
Ludwig, the big Vig.
Ludwig?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call him John.
Hey,
John.
Hey, John. Johnny. Jono.
I do. I like him. I like
Johnny.
him. I really didn't know much about the big Vig, but I like him.
Okay. One of the other things I want to kind of pivot to touch on injuries just a little bit. It's obviously a talking point. Lehkonen, no update, and for another, let's see here, 7 days.
Yeah.
Then we'll have an update. Otherwise, nothing to talk about there. Landeskoging in his
sure
rehab.
is. He sure is.
Nichushkin is back in Denver. You heard the press conference from Coach. He's skating. He's working out. He cannot be in the same place as the team at the same time, but he can use their facilities. So
on his own,
It's a little bit of a dance. So right now, obviously, he's probably spending most of his time in family sports, and then when they're there, he'll be downtown, and that'll go back and forth with that.
Yep.
And I guess the other big questions is where's the update on Drouin? What's the prognosis on Taze? Obviously, Miles Wood is okay and back, so that's a good thing. That was a little scary. And, I think you're just kind of waiting on, 2.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any real updates on Drouin. He's just kind of out still. It doesn't seem like it's crazy long term, but it also doesn't seem like you should be gearing up to get ready to have him back. And the reality of that is, at least for a couple more days, it sounds like Taves might be close at least, so they have that. But for right now, even ignoring the Nichushkin Landeskog situation, the Avs are out 2 of their top 6 forwards and a top pairing D.
Yeah.
That's tough for a lot of teams to be able to absorb. And the Avs have won their last 2 games. So you get this a lot with NHL coaches. Sometimes just don't mess with a good thing. Obviously, when those guys are healthy and ready to come back, they're coming back into your lineup. But if Taves says, it's still bugging me, I need an extra day, I think you feel okay with what you have right now.
And they didn't take those guys on the trip.
I think Taves went.
Maybe.
But definitely not Drouin.
Drouin was said that he's better to be here. I believe the quote was, better to be here where he can get the care he needs right now. Yeah. So whatever they're doing, they're working on it with him, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
You want those guys back. Obviously, it changes your lineup quite exponentially. So we'll see.
We miss Shakespeare for sure. We do. He's a big piece. He's a big piece. Boy, oh boy. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's the contrast. This would have happened last year at the start of the year. We would have been like, I would have been like, whatever. Now it's like, oh, buddy, that's a big blow. That is just a massive blow. You know what I mean? And, hopefully he gets back. I miss seeing him out there. I think he had a great training camp. I thought he was ready to go. I think he's trying to become a leader here in his own way. He's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of things that, guys can relate to him a little bit and, kind of get themselves going and talk about playing the right way. He came in like a lost puppy here last year and had no idea what was going on. And next thing you know, by game 10, 11, 12, you could see that, whoops, this guy's playing the the Avalanche Kool-Aid type of game, right? You know what I mean? Let's play the right way. This is how we play here. This is how we win. We have the championship pedigree, and he bought right into it. And I think you're going to see him for years to come here. And this makes you miss him a lot when you see the type of lineup that the Avalanche are icing right now.
Maybe that's a bet I should take, because I was pretty good for a while, and now I've gone very cold on my Bet 365. But maybe that's because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet 365. Every day they're powering up odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more than over 10,000 boosts a month. So make sure you're checking them out. They boost specific markets and your winnings and even parlays. So make sure you keep an eye out for custom DNVR bets and boosts. We've been doing a few of them. And they got some fun ones with the NHL. The early payout offer is awesome. So you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead, and that is an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download that app. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up, because they got some cool, fun stuff. That's how I ended up getting going a little bit. I used the bet and get offer, placed a bet of $5 or more. I got $200 in bonus bets. They also have a first bet safety net if you place a bet of up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you received a matched refund in bonus bets. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. I will put something in for football tonight, and Rudo, I will need your assistance on that.
You don't need my assistance on
Rudo
football.
doesn't know nothing about football.
I mean, I'll bet on it, but I don't know anything. So.
If anybody wants to throw a hot take in the Toyota chat on
there
a
you
good
go.
parlay for me tonight for Monday Night Football, I'm all ears. So if you're in there, drop a like and make sure you subscribe. But if you have a good parlay for me on Bet365 tonight for the football game, I'll take it.
My betting strategy on football is have a few beers and let it fly. And that's why we're brought to you by Coors Light, too. Go look at that. The beer literally made to chill. The mountains turn blue on the bottle or the can to let you know it's ice cold and ready to drink. Coors had some during the watch along. I'm just saying, had some Coors on the watch along. The Avs won.
Mm-hmm.
Math adds up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just keep doing that.
I did tweet that, anything you do as a fan doesn't possibly affect the game and jinxes aren't real. But if it makes you happy, if it makes you feel better,
go for it.
Have a Coors during the game. Make you feel better about the game, maybe.
If they didn't start winning games, I thought I was going to get fired.
First 0-82 season of all time. That'd be tough. The coolest part about Coors Light, though, is you can get it delivered right to your front door. You don't even have to get up off the couch. Go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR, and Instacart will get it delivered right to you. Go get yourself some Coors today. Of course, please drink responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Good man.
I do okay sometimes.
Good man. Well, let's pivot a little bit here to the big topic of the day, and that is the fact that the Colorado Avalanche now have 3 goaltenders on their roster. Kaapo's in. He's back. He's here. We talked to him right before they shoved off on the road. I don't imagine that he gets a start on this road trip. I kind of tend to think we're going to see him, as I said last night, probably around Ottawa or Chicago, just depending on how things play out. I have a feeling Georgiev is back in the starting position tomorrow against Seattle. We'll preview that game here coming up in a little bit, but it's not a good. It's a precarious situation, and I called around this morning and talked to some friends who are goalies in the league and are former goalies in the league, and they gave me their take on it. But I'd love to start with you guys and just get an idea on how do you think the Avalanche handle this, because it's. Whether they're going to admit to it or not, it will create and has created most certainly a little bit of tension amongst the goaltenders. And there's a lot of questions and some nervousness, which might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it got a lot harder after yesterday.
Yes, it did.
I think the Avs kind of quiet plan. You never root for someone to fail, but had Annunen struggled last night, I think it becomes a pretty easy conversation from Colorado's perspective of Georgiev and Kahkonen, and you go from there. Now, Annunen just posted a 960 yesterday. He has to stay in the mix and be a reasonable option for you. You still don't really know what you're getting from Kahkonen just yet. And then Georgiev is, I guess you're still sitting in the room of waiting to see if he can turn around his season and get back to the player he is. And to be fair to Georgiev, Tiff, do we have the goalie graphic? Did we get that going? When you compare their stats, Georgiev might be the best of the three across his career. I know Annunen has a bit better save percentage numbers, but he is a significantly smaller sample size. And when you look at the advanced stats over the last 2+ seasons, Georgiev does have the best goals saved above average, which used to be a lot higher. He's got about a -10 in that category this season, so it's imploded a little bit on him. The question is, can Georgiev get back to being that guy who's a quality goaltender for you? And I don't know. My answer to that is I don't know. On the flip side, statistically, Kahkonen is by far the worst of the three, but you have to keep in mind that venue comes into play a little bit there. Over the last 2 years, he played most of that time in San Jose, who, as you watched last night, not the best hockey team. So he gets blown up pretty regularly across the last 2 years playing for that team. With that being said, maybe I should let E take this one because I'm not the biggest Kahkonen believer. Maybe E believes a little bit more than I do.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think to just kind of button up your point, Rudo, I don't know as though I'm not sure Kahkonen is the end-all answer.
I don't think he is at that for sure.
I mean, and I'll listen to what he says, and then I'll give my opinion on what I think is going to play out. But, I mean, you definitely can't roll with this for a long time.
No.
Well, the way I look at it is I love the graphic, by the way. I do. But I do believe it's not a fair graphic. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm going to say.
I worked hard.
No. You mean thank you, not sarcastic. No, sorry. Yeah, no, it's a great graphic. I'm being honest. But what I'm saying is it's not fair to Kahkonen because for me, we're talking about being the goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche, a premier hockey team in the NHL, and not the San Jose Sharks where you get kicked in every night. And it's just not, your numbers are skewed. That's not real numbers. You're not looking at real numbers there. So, and again, I just said it 5 minutes ago, making a save when you're up 2-0, 3-0 is a lot different than making a save when the game's on the line at 1-1 and or you're down by a goal. And too many times the San Jose Sharks the last few years are not been there. I love Kahkonen's background. I loved him in Minnesota and I loved him in the minors. I'm way more familiar with Kahkonen than I am Georgiev. The only Georgiev things I know about Georgiev is being a goaltender for the Avalanche. You know, obviously in New York he had a smaller role, and I don't even believe he played in the American League. If he did, I don't remember. Honestly, maybe he did. I have no idea. I thought he came from the KHL, but I like the fact that Kahkonen had to fight through, had to get Americanized in a way. You know, I'm talking about North Americanized hockey, style of hockey, smaller rinks and all that kind of stuff. So I do believe I love the fact that if the Avalanche went and got Kahkonen, which they did, there's a reason why they got Kahkonen, and it was right after the first game. And if it was just the point I'm going to make right now, to bring some healthy competition from within, then look at last night, probably mission accomplished. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's why you do it. I'm not saying that's why they did it. I don't believe Justus Annunen clears waivers. Maybe they trade him. Maybe they have a taker for him. Maybe, I don't know. But I don't believe you lose him for free. I don't believe he gets through. 31 teams passing on him. I don't believe that. And then Georgiev. Well, again, the situation you're in, you're not going to trade Georgiev and then run with Kahkonen and Annunen. But I do like the fact that it brings a little bit of competition, and if it sorts itself out, like we're going to talk about here in a few seconds, though, then great. It sorts itself out, and picking up a guy on waivers kind of suited its purpose, and maybe Kahkonen gets picked up by somebody else. I don't know. We haven't seen the guy yet, so I'm not going to punt him to the curb. I do like him. I do believe that if you give him the sample size that the guy on top of the list has with the Avalanche, I do believe his numbers, again, that's my opinion, his numbers would be better than that guy.
Here's my problem with this, Eric, because I agree to you to an extent. I think Kahkonen is probably better than those numbers represent, but you can't just hand wave this. Part of the reason the San Jose Sharks were such a bad team, bad goaltending.
For sure.
You can't put it all on their skaters, which, some nights he got hung out to dry, but you have to put some of the onus on Kahkonen there as well. And I get it. You look at some of these other numbers. You look at the short stint he did in New Jersey. The numbers were pretty good. He had some okay numbers at times in Minnesota. I still, as I'm sure Giz is about to tell us, if you want to play him a lot, I have serious concerns. But
yeah, I mean, it's a no. You mean let's see what he looks like, obviously, first and foremost. But I think the internal competition will be healthy. I think giving them each a fair shake to see who rises to the top, a little bit of internal at practices as well, just sort of what the vibe is, and also watching how the guys respond and play in front of each of them, right?
Well,
You can tell a lot about your goaltender by the comfortability of the guys in front and how they play and how they execute and how comfortable they are, venturing away from the front of the net and letting him take shots, see shots, things like that. So I think the internal competition with these guys is going to be huge over the next few weeks. I think it's already sort of put Georgiev and Annunen on notice. When you bring in a guy like that, you don't pick up a goalie off of waivers after the first game if you're comfortable with your goaltending. You just don't. Do I think that there's a massive move to be made here for a goaltender if the Colorado Avalanche are truly envisioning themselves as cup contenders this year, which, as I've said, we know they are because it's Stanley Cup or bust.
Yeah.
So you've got a great core. You're going to get healthy. You're going to have clarity on Nichushkin. You're going to have clarity on Gabriel Landeskog, and that plays into it as well because there's a lot of money right there that can be wrapped into a deal to go out and get a goaltender. Now, can you wait till the trade deadline? I don't think you can. I think you've got to probably make a bigger move a little bit quicker, and then the problem becomes, okay, well, who's out there? Well, that's another big issue.
Yep.
And most teams aren't going to give away a goaltender even if they don't think they're making the playoffs until down near the trade deadline because they just don't want to.
I guess my question is, before you make a big move, how long can you realistically run three goaltenders?
Well, Eric can speak to this better than me, but I don't think you can for very long. I think you got to figure this out before the first of the year.
Even that feels like a long time.
I was going to say Thanksgiving, but that's not that far
probably
away.
too fast. I hear you, but
any sweet spot between Thanksgiving and the first of the year, you got to figure this out.
Agreed.
And then you're going to also have a clearer picture on your other options too.
Yeah, I mean, the the three-headed monster is kind of a pain in the butt, to be honest with you. Of course, they'll tell you if they give you an answer, they'll be, no, no, it's fine. And the coaches will tell you, no, 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 it's fine. But internally, reality is that there's no flow to practice for the goalies. It's a pain in the butt to give your net and you're like, oh, okay, your turn. Or, it's a little uncomfortable. It's a little annoying. Yeah, they're going to tell you, no, but you can get on the ice early. And as you know, they do. UC Parkland goalies always go out at family sports on one side of the ice, as everybody sees. And there's always shooters there working on goalie drills. But it's just, I don't care what people say. It's tough. There's always one guy not dressing, so you're not even, you don't feel part of it. You're basically a healthy scratch, a double healthy scratch, because as a goalie, if you're not playing, it's basically a healthy scratch. You're just sitting on the bench with your ball cap and your towel around your neck. And then if you're not dressed, it's almost like a double scratch. It's like, buddy, we're kicking you to the curb, or we're making you more fresh for the back-to-back, and tomorrow night you'll play. And, so you're using that to that advantage, which you can do. I mean, we used to send Patty Waugh sometimes and call up a goalie, make Biller play, for example, and Patty Waugh would be already in St. Louis sleeping at the hotel when we got there. You know what I mean? So you can do that, but also you got to remember nowadays with the 23-man roster, I mean, these guys count as a body. That's a pain in your butt. I got to be honest with you. And then, so you got to be careful a little bit. It counts against the cap, counts against your numbers, counts against your roster. So, but you got to figure it out. And then again, sometimes all it is just to get their attention. And that's why, is it fair? You're disrupting someone's life and all the trouble. It's not fair. Sometimes the NHL is not fair. It's pro sports. And there's no, like I said, cut up orange juice and juice boxes. There's none. It's none of that. You don't hold hands about that. We talked about that yesterday about Cal Ritchie. That's not what the NHL is about. So I think they're trying to figure out what they can do. I hope that he goes in there, plays well, because I don't like the guy that's at the top of the list. And again, it's not personal. I just don't like what he's done, what he's brought in his tenure here in Colorado. I just don't believe in it. I do believe that they need something else, to go win the whole thing, like you just said, win or bust.
All right, more on the goaltenders in just a second, but we've got tons of fun stuff coming up. You got to be part of the DNVR events, and no matter who your team is, there's always something really cool going on. And for the Avalanche, there's not one very far away. We are heading to the rink, and these are always cool. I haven't been a part of one yet.
They're sick.
I'm really looking forward to it. The Avalanche do such a great job. We do such a great job with us. We have 3 different takeovers this season and 3 different games to choose from. The November 15th game against the Capitals, January 4th against the Canadiens, and then February 28th against the Wild. Hang out at the DNVR bar. We got a party bus to and from Ball Arena, plus a game ticket. We also have bus-only tickets. Eric is lining up some heavy hitters. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm not sure if I can reveal anything yet, so I won't. I don't know if that's – I'm not sure the rules yet, but we've got a really cool first guest for the first takeover on the 15th. Also, there could be some really crazy things happening around the team right about that time.
Yep.
Potentially Landeskog.
Shaking and moving going on.
Potentially Nichushkin. Maybe Lehkonen back as well. And then, of course, the greatest goal scorer of our generation in Alexander Ovechkin and what could potentially be his last trip to Ball Arena.
Yeah, if he gets there, it could be the last trip. I would put it this way. Come watch one of the greatest goal scorers of all time.
Anyway,
one of the best Avalanche goal scorers of all time.
I would say
not the best, but one of the best.
One of the best. I would say definitely get here. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to it. By all means, make sure you sign up for it. We can't wait to have you.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. By the way, free beers on the party bus to and from.
Oh,
so
wait, and you got mine too.
You will.
Oh.
I don't know. We might not go early enough. You can take it home though with us.
Okay.
You get free beers on the way home, too.
Okay. All right. That's probably better, actually, anyway. Maybe not a good idea to show up to the job with, 8 deep
beers
on
in
beers.
hand, yeah.
6 deep.
Coach, I want to know about the puck. No, Gizmo. No, buddy. Go sit down.
Look, we love our show. We do our around the league shows every so often and talk about that stuff. But us here at ALLCITY also have What Chaos for a fully NHL league-wide show. You can get with Pete Blackburn and DJ Bean. They like to have a little bit of fun with it too. But they right now have a new merch collection which just dropped in partnership with Justition. You can see it right there. You can go to justition.com and get shirts, hoodies, hats, and accessories with justition.com to check it all out. It's a sick little merch drop. What Chaos also, they had like Gene Principe model all of their new stuff. If you saw that on Twitter, you can go check out Gene looking fly and all the new stuff. So highly recommend you get in on that. Go check out What Chaos. Go check out their cool new merch with Justition. It's a fun show. Highly recommend.
Gene's a good man too.
He's a good guy. Yep.
Gene's a good guy. Okay. Back to goalie talk for just a few more minutes here, and then we will look ahead at Seattle, talk a little bit about the Central. Eric, what do you think the timeline is on making a move? And if you had to make a move, what would your move be? I mean, I'm hesitant to throw out what I think is going to happen just because I hate doing that sometimes. But what do you think the actual play here is?
What do I think the play is, or what do I want the play to be? That's 2 separate things, What do I think is going to happen is I do believe Kahkonen's going to get in there at some point. You don't pick up a guy on waivers and not play him 1 game. So, but I do believe that his leash was up.
More so, do you think they're going to what's the move they make to get back to 2 goalies?
Well, I think you have to wait and see what you got. You don't know what you got. I do believe you got more than Rudo thinks, for example, on the guy. And this is not saying I'm right, Rudo's wrong. I'm saying you have to go and see, what you got. He has to play. He has to see how he can conform to the system of the Avalanche, which is what? Really not giving up a lot of scoring chances in a game. We talk about it all the time. The Avs have the puck. They're the best puck possession team in the league. I mean, usually on any given night with the best players in the league. big. You don't give up much. Does that suit his game, or is he a guy that needs to look at his numbers? I don't think he looks to be in San Jose a guy that needs 50 shots and then be outstanding because his numbers weren't outstanding. So, but maybe with the Av system, does he all of a sudden come in and you have about 10 scoring chances a night, 12 scoring chances a night, and then he walks out with wins every night, 3-2, 3-1, 4-2. Maybe, I don't know. You're gonna have to wait and see. You're gonna have to put him out there. You're gonna have to see what he's got. And then does that mean that Eustace I don't know. It's going to sort itself out. Again, if Eustace keeps playing, again, we say this about the rookies all the time, make them make decisions. Well, no better opportunity right now for Kahkonen, for Eustace, and for Georgiev to make them make decisions, which is, do we keep Georgiev? That's making a decision, right? Do we move on from him? I don't know what you can do to move on from him, and then who's going to be the guy secondary? But I love the competition factor. I love the fact that you win, you're in. That's the way I feel right now. Just to see what you got, what you mix, and then you go and sort it out from there. I do believe it's not going to be a long-term thing because I don't believe in it. And again, I'm biased because we had a guest the other day, Patty Waugh, same thing. He came into the league as a three-headed monster, and I tell you one thing, Doug Sotard, Brian Hayward, they couldn't stand him, and he couldn't stand them. And I mean that with all the respect in the world. What do I mean by stand them? Is you want to play. You want the net. You don't want to be a scrap. You want to, you know what I mean? And it's just hard. There's not a lot of goalies on each team, and there's only 2 nets for practice, and there's only 1 net for the game. You want to be the guy playing. And if there's 2 other guys there, well, it's a little tough. So I do believe it's not going to be long term, but I do believe you need to see what you got. And even if it's 1 game, I've seen it so many times. How many times have we seen it?
About answer. It's cop out. Cop out. Real
Well,
answer. The Avs are handcuffed to Alexandar Georgiev. They cannot get rid of him unless it's involved in a trade, and you don't realistically have any trade options. So Georgiev is staying on the roster. That means at some point you're going to have to get rid of one of Annunen or Kahkonen. To do that as safely as possible, realistically, it depends on how well Annunen can play. If he can keep playing and earn the job, you have to wait until at least November 11th. That's when Kahkonen will have been on the Avs for 30 days. You can then send him through waivers, and the Jets can't just take him back and put him down. So that's probably optimal scenario A for the Avalanches. Annunen plays well, and Kahkonen becomes the 3rd goalie in the AHL. You can't really send Georgiev down. No one's going to have any interest in $2.5 million in cap dead on the AHL team. It's just not something.
No, but again, that's why I disagree. It's not a cop out for me. You have to see what you got. But I tell you one thing: if all of a sudden Kahkonen, he's not 12 years old, he's 28 years old. You know what I mean? So he's got some sort of experience around the league, and next thing you know, you see guy strike lightning in a bottle. All of a sudden, he goes on a run. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's nothing. It's no different than having Georgiev in the net. I don't know what Georgiev's ever done to bring the Stanley Cup to Colorado. I don't think he's ever been that guy. So maybe it makes you realize, maybe he is a guy that you trade. I'm talking about Georgiev, and you go get an extra forward for. I don't know. I don't know what the market is for this guy right now, but I do believe that. For me, there's a reason why they went and got an extra guy on waivers. And I do believe, and I believe in him just because of my history, in a sense, the last 6, 7, 8 years following this guy. I do believe that somebody should give him a shot. And I was so pumped. We talked about it last year at the trade deadline. I do believe that he is a perfect fit for this team, the type of goaltender that he is. He's going to need to play, and we'll see where he's at. And I think Bednar said he wants to put him in a position to succeed. I do believe that. I think there's more to it than just say he's going to be here and then sit and Georgiev's going to be playing every game and then Eustace is crap out of luck and he's gone. No, I'm not. I'm not ready to say that. I'm ready to say that there's going to be a little bit of a battle right now, and they're going to see where it sorts itself out. And if there is a market, you're asking me again. That's why I'm sitting here, and I'm not the GM. I'm not Chris McFarland. But do I mean, I don't know how much longer you need to know what you think you have in Georgiev. For me, I think this is what he is. This is what you have in Georgiev. It's never going to change. It's always going to creep back up at times, and it's just what it is. And I don't trust the asset. So for me, I get rid of the asset. So that's not a cop out. It's just. And now, do you go with Annunen and Kahkonen? I don't know. We've been talking about John Gibson. We've been talking about guys like that. You know what I mean? Mackenzie Blackwood that people are talking about. I don't know what it is, but I said it and I will say it again. I said it this summer. The guy that was the net for the Colorado Avalanche, game 1 of the season, will not be the guy, the last game that the Colorado Avalanche played this season.
I think you need to see a little bit out of Georgiev to up his trade value on the market. You hope that Justus continues to play well, and you hope that Kaapo comes in and does what Eric said. My thinking is it's lightning in a bottle. He plays great. Justus steps up. He's a solid backup. You get enough sample size from Georgiev over the next month to at least make him appealing on the market and move him.
This is exactly it.
That's what I would do.
I don't want to keep Georgiev because I think he's the right answer.
Right.
It's just, let's be honest, trade materializing for a quality starting goaltender is unlikely in the month of October.
Agreed.
It's unlikely in the month of November.
Agreed.
So you have to kind of live with your situation right now and make it work with Georgiev until you can find a realistic trade option.
Right. You need to try to find a realistic trade option for him. But right now, I mean, I made some phone calls today. You called and were like, hey, you would get laughed at.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like, I'm not worried about trading Georgiev. Yes, I would love for him to up his value so you're not giving away picks for someone to eat his cap. But it's more about who are you getting in return? You said it. Kahkonen, even if he plays well, feels a lot more like a Band-Aid solution than a real solution to your starter. Annunen is who he is. Look, any goalie at any time can get wicked hot and you ride the hot hand, great. But I don't think you can have that as your plan for the rest of this season.
You already know what you're getting with Georgiev. You don't need to I mean, yeah, let him compete and let's see if having 3 guys lights a fire. And maybe it did a little bit. Maybe that's why we saw an improvement in his game. And that's saying something based on what happened in the first 2 games. I mean, you wouldn't have to try very hard to improve on those. But I'm just saying that, like, I think that already know what your landscape is. Now you got to figure out how to move the pieces around the board.
And to your point, all right, you want to play all 3 goaltenders. You want to see what you have, like Eric says. I think it's a fair point. You do want to see what they look like. But you give each goalie 5 games over the next 15.
Sure.
Congrats. You're at the end of November. It's not like you can't have 15 games to give each of these guys to make a decision. It's going to come up on you pretty quick.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. Like okay, you're going to go with you're going Georgiev tomorrow. Okay. Depending on how that goes, you're probably going him again against Utah.
Yeah.
Then you're going to come back, and then you're going to have those 2, Ottawa and then Chicago?
Yep. Okay,
so Justus is getting one of those, and Kaapo's getting the other one.
Yeah.
It's 100% how it's going to go.
I would not surprise me to see Georgiev get one of the 2
maybe
back-to-backs, just because Bednar's weird about back-to-backs with his starter. But, yeah, I fully expect Kahkonen to get one of the 2 back-to-back games, and decisions have to get made.
It's going to be interesting. It's not a cool spot to be in, and it's a tough spot to be in, and it's a tough spot to be in because you didn't expect to be in this spot, and then you throw some injuries on top of it at the very beginning, and you're like, well.
And I know we're winding down here, but very quickly, Eric brought up a really good point with the 23-man roster that ties back into that injury conversation. A month from now, Druin, Lehkonen are healthy.
Yeah.
If Valnichushkin's healthy too, you're out of roster spots. The Avs committed to carrying 8D this year.
Right.
If you want to carry an extra forward, you can't run 3 goalies. You can't. So they have a lot of, I don't want to say handcuffs, but they're going to have to navigate some pretty tight waters here.
Yeah. Real quick, just get it here. Give me your 30-second look ahead to Seattle. Start with you.
Well, I mean, somewhere, again, we want to go streaking, like we said yesterday, Frank the Tank, Frank the Tank Selly, make it 3 in a row. You have to. You got to play some good hockey. You need goaltending. I don't care what. God, we've been talking about it the last 20 minutes now on goaltending. You're going to need goaltending tomorrow. Are you getting, I don't know if you looked on that little Breckenridge graphic, you know what I mean? For the first time, like yesterday, you had a 9, whatever it was, 60. And guess what? You were on the right side of the column. You got away with it the day before where you got absolutely kicked in by the other goalie, and then you got away with another 800 and get a W. Tomorrow you get that. I'm going to put my hat on it. The third time I sell my hat. the last 2 days that you're in the 800s tomorrow. You're not winning the game. You're just not. You're not going to get away with it. Not with the lineup you have right now. It's a little different lineup than last year. You got to start getting some goaltending, and you got to get it in a regular basis. And if that's whoever's in net, I'm assuming it's going to be Georgiev. So I don't see it, but that'd be a negative. I just don't see it. Seen it too many times on the other side, so I'm getting a little worried about the game tomorrow when it comes down to that. Yes.
Your 30-second.
I'll do it in 5.
Sorry.
I think you can win with an 800 potentially. With if they choose to start Georgiev, you can light that guy up. But play a quality hockey game. The result will be what it will be.
All right. He will be with us tomorrow. We'll have the pregame show. We will have the watch along. And then, of course, we'll be back with you for postgame. Big shout out to Pin King 554 in the super chat. Throwing us $2. Quote, drunk post-game podcast at some point? ? That's an absolute yes.
Yeah, we usually do one a year where I get really drunk.
100%
for a
we'll
fun
do that.
game. Yeah, the takeovers you do. I end up drinking a lot of beer on takeover nights.
Fantastic. I'll drive. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you trying to get to 100K subscribers. So make sure you're subscribing. Hit that like button. Make sure you become a diehard and have notifications all set so that you get all the updates from us as we bring you all of the news and info from the Avs season all season long. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Cave. Appreciate you, man, and all the honesty. We'll see you tomorrow. Hockey back again, as it will be the Avs taking on the Seattle Kraken. And I really hope the Avs beat the Kraken. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.